you've spoken about a lot of the principles that are dear to you. The question is, when you talk about different forms of two states or a binational state, what changed? Has something changed about the way that you view the world? Has something about your principles changed? Or just the application? That there's no other way and this is just a very practical or pragmatic way of approaching the situation?
I would say in the beginning, after the Six-Day War, I would say the ideal thing was to do a two-state solution or to give it to Jordan. The Palestinians didn't want to negotiate with us. We did not. We were dreaming that thousands and hundreds of Jews will come to Jews here and they can take all the land. So everyone has his own fantasy. The settlements had started there. When the Labour Party had passed the power to the Likud, there were 3,000 settlers in all the West Bank and Gaza. And then it became to 450,000. Now the problem is that we cannot. We cannot take out 400,000 settlers. There is the problem of the blocks. But Ariel is outside the block. This Ariel is really something that was stuck.
Ariel is a fascinating case in point.
Yes. Okay. Now, so we were working on the problem of the gushim. I don't know, blocks. The blocks here, the blocks there, etc. I was proposing that there will be a Jewish minority in the Palestinian state.
You're not the only one, that's
yes,
correct.
And I was saying I will come there to be a Jewish minority in the Palestinian state because the tax will be there 7% and not 30%.
So we could be neighbors.
Yes, and life will be, from the point of view of ecological things, etc., will be better. So, but with a Palestinian passport I will have, also keeping my Israeli passport because there are many people with double passports. And the question is today is what will happen. This is a possibility that the settlers will be a Jewish minority, or an Israeli minority, not Israeli minority, inside the Palestinian state, and they will enjoy security and things like that, and as there are a Palestinian minority inside Israel. This could be a good solution without having to move people from around. The question will be, of course, Jerusalem, what to do. So there are many solutions, there are many possibilities. And there is, of course, the possibility of binational state. That I don't know, this can be, we can drag to this, because it is not a good solution. It's not a good solution.
Before that being not a good solution, I think it's really important just to focus for a moment. You said that there are many solutions and many ways of looking at it. I don't like the word solution. I want solutions, but I don't think that we start with a signed piece of paper that someone signs in Washington, D.C., and then makes me and my Palestinian neighbor live with it. I'd rather work on something more organic from the ground up, but that's a topic for a different discussion.
Yes.
I think the key to what you're saying, though, is that there are many different approaches, because at the beginning you were saying it's either a two-state or a binational state, and now I'm hearing from you also that there are other possibilities.
Yes,
there's lots of different ways to cut the cake.
Yes, and this we have to work. We have to work about these possibilities to see how they fit reality.
But I have a question on the reality.
If I don't know the situation on the ground, how we can do it, it is of course evident that the two people will live here forever together.
I agree.
And we are both have the full right to this land in this land. But the question how we will do it, if it will be done as a federation or confederation or binational state or two states with another institution. These are many possibilities to do it. But first of all, the settlers have to understand that they are not the masters of this land, of the Palestinian land. And they have to cooperate in a kind of a solution that will come, after all, agreement with the Palestinians. But the Palestinians are also difficult. Of course, I know the Palestinians are difficult. They are lazy, they are passive, they are not coming to negotiations, they dream about a resolution of the UN that will solve the problems. Of course, I know it, I know
I
it.
think there's, if I may, there's an international community that is selling another fantasy for way too long to a Palestinian people. And by the way, I would suggest that there's a difference between Palestinians and Palestinians. When you say Palestinians, you're talking about the Palestinian Authority, the people who are running the show for the Palestinians. When I say Palestinians, I'm speaking again about my neighbor.
Yes,
and I think that's important to note only because when you talk about the ideas of two states and binational states, etc., we're talking about a population that we never really asked what they want.
You cannot ask the people, because if you will ask here the Jews, everyone will say to you a different idea.
Fair question.
So
right.
The Palestinians of Seoul, you cannot ask the people. You have your neighbors there; they have another neighbor.
But if the problem is a moral problem,
the
if
moral
the problem
problem
is kibush, if the problem is
kibush in a certain area today of about. The question is not so much about A and B. They have here a kind of a half kibush, autonomy, etc. But it's not sufficient, of course. We have to cooperate between us, and the fact that there are cooperation between the Israeli army and the army of the police and the army of the Palestinian Authority is very positive.
That's correct.
So we have to continue in this sense. The problem is not to take land of them, to keep their own right, the right of, and this is what I was saying in my declarations, that we have to help the Palestinians living in Zone C to have rights of social security, of medical security, of unemployment security, and all these things is very important. They cannot be slaves in Zone C.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
If you ask the Palestinians, though, and you compare the Palestinians who are working, let's say, in a factory in Ariel to the Palestinians who are working, let's say, in a factory in Shem, Nablus, ask them to compare their salaries, their social benefits,
yes,
who they prefer to be working for,
yes,
and so you get a very different picture on the ground. This conversation is, as I mentioned to you over the phone, we're doing this Talk 17 project. We believe that 2017 is a time for, let's call it a cheshbon nefesh in Hebrew, or a taking stock of where we are as a nation. Where we are as a nation includes you living in Givatayim, me living in Ariel, call me a settler, a nationalist, whatever you'll call me, but it means all of us figuring out where we are. Part of that is understanding where our neighbors are. I believe that in Ariel, that example that you gave, the unique case in point, is a situation which we have a unique set of circumstances where I live with and among Palestinians. We're not next door neighbors, but we are community next to community neighbors. And we create these dynamics that unfortunately most of the world hasn't really heard about, because we're talking about the people living there instead of speaking with the people.
Yes, but this is of course positive in the local area, but still there is the big problem. Still Netanyahu is representing me. What can I do? He is representing me. What he says, he is representing me. And they are represented by Abu Mazen, and this is the question.
Isn't there a difference though when Netanyahu is democratically elected and Abu Mazen is not? Isn't there a difference when we choose our leaders and when we don't?
We have done peace with Sadat, who was not elected democratically. We have done peace with Jordan, with King Hussein, who was not democratic. The question,
I'm not asking whether we can, I'm asking whether we should.
I don't think so that the question of democracy is count here. The United States and Russia were doing many agreements, being America is democratic and Russia is not democratic.
But I'm asking very sincerely, I really mean this sincerely, if the issue that we're trying to address is a group of people, namely the Palestinians, and we have a group of people that are claiming to represent them, and we know that they do not.
You cannot say to them, they are officially recognized by all the world. I don't know.
So maybe the world is making a mistake.
You cannot enter to the why you have done agreement with Stalin, and you know very well that Stalin wasn't only not elected by the Russian people, but he was the monster of the Russian people, and still you have done agreement after the Second World War, and many agreement with many countries that are not democratic. So
I'm asking a different question though. I'm not asking if we can. I'm asking if we should. I'm asking the moral question.
Yes, no, you cannot wait for democracy in order to do peace, not only in the case of the Palestinians and the Israeli, but in any other cases in the